We may only be in late June for the Atlantic hurricane season, pretty early, but you wouldn't know it by looking out there today. I'm Mike Nasel with this Wednesday evening video update for June 26th. It looks a lot more like August 26th with what we're looking at on our computer models for the Atlantic hurricane season. We have a couple of features out there. This is Invest 94L in the Western Caribbean, similar to the way Alberto developed, disturbed weather out there. It looks like this one's going to remain over land and not develop, but bring moisture and rainfall to Central America and Mexico. Of greater concern is a new Invest 95L sitting here right in the Central Atlantic, looking better defined, and it looks like this could be a problem down the road. We'll talk about it. Here's the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Obviously, our first disturbance has a 20% chance of development as it moves very close to the southern Bay of Campeche in the Gulf of Mexico. Like I said, very close to the areas there where Alberto formed about a week or so ago. The new feature we're watching is this area of disturbed weather, Invest 95L. That has a 40% chance so far of developing over the next week as it moves generally towards the Leeward and Windward Islands of the Lesser Antilles. So we have a feature here that could develop and move towards land. Now, looking at it right now on the infrared satellite, it doesn't look overly impressive, but for late June, come on, late June? I mean, if it was July 26th, that'd be one thing, but June 26th, this is concerning. It doesn't look that low, it doesn't look that sheared. It looks kind of like an August tropical wave moving on west associated with the ITCZ, which is the Intertropical Convergence Zone. And once it's no longer embedded in that and it moves towards the west, it could develop. Now, here's a better look at the satellite. I sped this up to get a better look at the water vapor. There is obviously a feature there worth watching. You see a little bit of a spin. I don't think there's anything at the low levels yet, but as it separates and detaches from the intertropical convergence zone, this is going to be the feature we're watching, to say nothing of this beautiful wave leaving Africa. Again, for this early in the year, this does not bode well for what is already expected to be an exceptionally busy Atlantic hurricane season. And because of that expectation, that's why I'm a little concerned that this could develop and be something more significant than what we would want. Looking at the wind shear right now, you're going, Mike, look at this, has 40 knots of wind shear in front of it. Not really. It has a little bit of a safe harbor that is going to pool on towards the west, and it should have a nice little anticyclone, which is high pressure aloft once it gets towards the Caribbean. The shear tendencies are going to look more like this blue favorable as it moves its way towards the Caribbean islands. So upper level conditions might be favorable for development by the time it gets towards 60, 70, 80 west, further on towards the Caribbean. Water temperatures, we don't even need to talk about that. These are abnormally high water temperatures, and that has been the concern all throughout spring and early summer, watching the expectation here of a very busy hurricane season with this high octane fuel for hurricane development. From CycloneCane.com, pretty cool website, here is the intensity guidance over the next 24, 48, 72, 96, 120 hours. Not good. 83 knots, 99 knots, 104 knots, 140 knots. I mean, the intensity guidance is showing this becoming anywhere from a Category 1 to a Category 5 hurricane. So that would be a hurricane, and probably a strong one. That is not good. Now, the spaghetti model plots, as I call them, these are the GFS ensembles. They kind of latch on to what's expected with the low pressure. They generally take it towards the Lesser Antilles. Maybe some turn it more towards Hispaniola. Others keep it towards the Yucatan. But they develop it, and a lot of them make it a hurricane, maybe even by the time it reaches the Leeward or Windward Islands. You want to see something scary? Look at the Canadian model. Makes it a hurricane, moving right there towards the Yucatan Peninsula. Then the European model, scariest of them all. Look at it, develops our system, moves it through the island, strengthens it into a major hurricane, and takes aim at Cancun, Cozumel sometime the first week of July. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit more to show you what the European showing. Watch as it moves into the Caribbean Sea. Watch that right there. It is a Category 1, 2, 3, maybe even a Category 4 hurricane, making landfall along the northeast tip of the Yucatan Peninsula. That would be around Saturday, July 6th. Now, I know that's a long way out, and we only have an invest area. We don't have a tropical depression or a tropical storm yet, but that is a very favorable looking pattern, a very dangerous major hurricane, and the European model is a pretty good model. Here's the European ensembles, very concerning. Whenever you see pinks on this map, look at that. That's 100 knots or more. That's a major hurricane. And look at, that is a lot of pink. Anywhere from the Bahamas to the Yucatan Peninsula, sometime around 240 hours out. Now, that's a long time, I understand. But for this kind of consistency and that type of model that's that well received, high regard, that's concerning. Now, there have been some people saying, well, back in 2021, we had Hurricane Elsa in early July, and that's true. Elsa became a Category 1 hurricane, moved through the Windward Islands, then it weakened to a tropical storm, moved through Cuba, and then it was a Category 1 hurricane off Sarasota, made landfall in the Big Bend near Keaton Beach as a tropical storm. That is true. But what we're seeing on these European ensembles ain't no Category 1 hurricane tropical storm. Look at, this is 950 millibars or lower. These are powerful hurricanes that are being shown on the ensembles. Now, whether or not they slam into South Texas, Upper Texas, New Orleans, the Panhandle, the Cape Canaveral, the Carolinas, or even out to sea, that's all a moot point. The point is they're all a strong hurricane, and up until the Caribbean, we have a pretty good idea that it's going to blow through the islands and then be a Caribbean cruiser. So that would look more like Hurricanes Dennis and Emily from 2005. Hurricane Dennis was a Category 4 hurricane. It hit Cuba, and then it slammed into the Florida Panhandle as a Category 3. And then a week or so later, we had Hurricane Emily, a forgotten hurricane. That was a Category 5, and it moved very near the Cayman Islands, just south, slammed into the Yucatan and mainland Mexico as a Category 3 and 4 hurricane. The name was not retired, in part because those storms, Dennis was retired, but Emily wasn't. But they kind of got overshadowed later that year by Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Rita, Hurricane Wilma, the epic 2005 season. So, given a word to the wise, I would watch the tropics very carefully in the next few days, because I don't like what I'm seeing. Our other Invest 94, the one in the Western Caribbean, that should remain over land, move into the Pacific. Maybe it could do something in the Eastern Pacific, but that would move away from Mexico and not develop. The one we are watching is the one we are most concerned with right now. That is 95L. So again, because of the high expectations, I mean, the last few months, those of us watching the tropics have looked at the pattern and said, hey, do you think this will be one of those years like 1996, 2005, 2008? Where maybe we get a July major hurricane, and what this system could do, based on those ensemble models, this could be a July major hurricane. But right now we don't even have a tropical depression, plenty of time to watch it, but if you are in the Lesser Antilles, the Greater Antilles, and anywhere west, keep an eye on this system. I'm Mike Naso, and we'll keep tabs on this system over the next couple of days and see what happens. I will talk to you next time.